So let's start preparing the scene. The first thing I like to do is to check the unit setup, and this time we'll work directly as generic units because I'm not taking care about the scale, but it's just to understand how to play and how to manage a scene like this one. So I like to have, let's create a ground meshes, and this one can be 140 and 140. Okay, that's our ground. Perfect. Now I like to have a mesh that will be our, let's say, our mountain, but obviously it will be just something more simple. And to do something like that, we can create another meshes. And this time we need, obviously, let's say, mountain. Obviously, it will be really a proxy about the mountain. It's just to understand how to play with the scene setup. And this one, let's go with the edges faces, needs to have a different shape, and we go to manage maybe a little bit of sculpting. So let's have more segments, and then we can use other tools. So right mouse button, and we can convert to editable poly, and then now we have the various tools there. So we can start, you see, to manage, to play with the scene, and I'm starting just to give a different shape. And I'm going to do something really simple and really fast. Then we can go there, and I will use a relax to relax our meshes. Okay, nice. And then we can go to have a noise. So we start to have a different shape there. Okay. And something over the other axis, and then something over the y-axis too. Nice. Okay. Then let's put an edit poly, so we can manage again the tools there. Let's go to flutter a little bit there, this area. Okay, and the same there. I like to flat this part of the mesh, and same there. And the same on this axis. Okay, then I like to still move partially this part there. So you see I'm changing a little bit the topology to have the possibility to have the right movement for the dust avalanche we are trying to achieve. Obviously we don't need a so precise mesh, it's just to give a rough idea about what we can do to create something like that. So we have this mesh. Now we can go to have, let's go for a turbo smooth, so we have more phase. Then we can add again a noise with a fractal. Let's go for 35 scaling, and you see I'm starting to add details over the surface. Let's remove the edges faces, and it is still nothing so nice, but it is starting to be something more interesting. Then we can try to have again an edit poly, and with this edit poly we can try to add a little bit of noise, but we need a little bit more shape control. So let's go maybe to sculpt a little bit there. Okay, and then let's go to manage a little bit there, but we have to scale, so let's go maybe to 15 and 100. Okay, so you see I'm going to do something like that. So we have a place where it can move freely to go out, and then maybe there we can create a place where it needs to fall and collide, and the same can be done there. So let's move this part, and the same can be done for this part too. So you see we are creating an area where the dust can't move freely because it will collide there, but on this part it will be able to move freely. So maybe just a little bit more there, like that. Okay, nice. So then let's see if we have maybe we can have another turbo smooth just to see, and you see that the mesh is starting to be more complex. Then we can add again another noise, and we can decide later about the rendering. We can use a displays, for example, to have a nicer look. Okay, let's get there. Let's use a lower scale, and we can go lower. Let's try with 2 also there. And let's pick the gizmo and let's try to scale it so it is different on the shape there. And I think that actually it can be enough. That is good for our purpose. Okay, maybe if we like, we can also sculpt a little bit more. So let's go to have another edit poly, and let's go back to have the freedom tools there, and let's start with this one, and let's start to work, but we'll work there so it will be faster. Okay, let's go to have more strength. Let's try with 8. Okay, you see that it is working more. So we can have, let's go to see not the final result, and again we can sculpt, but I like to have a little bit less, so let's try with 4. Okay, so I'm just going to sculpt a little bit of detail just to have a more strange. And let's go to have the pinch. So the pinch will give us the possibility to have a shape more similar to a precise rock shape. You see that the detail needs a little bit of management done using this tool. Let's repick the pinch and the same there. So you saw maybe the last one is too much, just a little bit there and just a little bit more there. I'm trying to exaggerate the shape so it will be more similar to a rock Okay, let's see if we have the noise. We can, you see, add some detail to the surface to make it, oh sorry, the last one is too much, to make it less regular. Okay. Let's orbit a little bit. I like to have a little bit more noise in this area. Let's go for lower scale. Okay. Sorry. You can obviously generate the shape you like. I'm just trying to give a nice looking, also if it is really basic, but I like to have a nice shape. Okay, let's imagine that this one is nice. We go with a new, as you see, turbo smooth. Then we go to have the noise. And then we have the edit poly. And with this edit poly, I like just to have a little bit of shape in there. Let's try with 2 for the strength. So we can have some more precise area. We can try with 4 for the strength. We have to take care to move careful to have not so high. Let's go with a bigger. Okay. You see, I'm using the pinch to have more detail over some area. Okay. Okay, let's use the shape. Nice. So let's close the ribbon. We can save, and we can start playing with the particles to manage the scene. So to manage the particles, we need, let's see how much dense is the mesh. It's not so much dense, so later we can manage something. So for example, we can let's collapse 2, and then there we can add, let's go for maybe a tessellate. So let's press tessellate. It takes a little bit, but you see that we are starting to have the tessellation. We go for quad, and we'll have no tension. Okay. Then I like to have, let's go for maybe a displace, and we'll use a procedural maps to create some rocky effect. So we go to have, let's go for cellular. Let's say okay, and then we go to have the chips. So we can copy this map over there as an instance. And you see that now we are, let's say, to use the existing map. So now it is starting to add the rocky effect, but I like to have something bigger before. So let's try with 25 with a fractal. And let's go to have also black there. luminance center. So you see we are just managing to add the tail or to remove the tail. So we go to have something bigger, and we say that this one is, let's set to off this one. So we have 2 tiling over this axis and 0.6 over the other axis. Then back to seed. Let's try to have a bigger scale, because I like to understand which is the scale actually. And we'll have another tessellation. It will take some. Okay, now it is done, and we can see how much it's. Let's set to off and to on. Okay, let's do a material so I can see the map there, and copy with the right mouse button, and then there, path assistance, and we can see the map. So that's the actual map. Let's go for more tiling, maybe also more. Let's go for 8. Okay, let's remove from there, and you see that we are giving a strange shape to the map, but I like just to make a test, so let's use 0.5 over this axis and maybe 5 over the other axis. Okay, we can use the rotated map. Let's go for 1, 2, and let's go there for 3. Okay, let's go to have a little bit more iteration, so let's try with 5. And if you go higher, you see that we are achieving a really rocky effect over our mountain. So we can go a little bit lower, maybe 1, and it will be enough to have a really rocky look. And you see that that's the result. So we can go there, and let's say to set off in viewport. So this one is used just in rendering, and this one is used in viewport 2. So we'll have a proxy scaling for the mountain, and it will be subdivided just in rendering. So save.